What's up, everybody? Alex here from Columbus, and welcome back. This is episode 16 of What's on Tap, and today we got a good one. Now, if you are not a beer person, this might be a bit annoying. Actually, this is going to be probably annoying anyway because it's just me talking, but that's the whole point of these episodes. But today's a good day because it's a new beer, and a new beer that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. So I think the title of this What's on Tap is going to be something along the lines of FOMO, friendship, and founders. We love some alliteration. So let's dive into the beer first before we get into some of the actual records. Okay, so a little bit of a story time. What got me into craft beer all those years ago? I surprised some people when I tell them that I did not start drinking beer until I was probably 24, 25 years old. That is true. Not that I didn't drink when I was younger. I just hated beer. I mean, it was one of those things where I was just like, why do people drink this? This is disgusting, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, I was drinking, more liquor, mixed drinks, stuff like that. I had a hard cider phase like everybody else until I realized like how sweet and sugary it was. But a lot of people think that I started drinking beer really early. I didn't get into beer until I was in grad school. And why did I get into beer when I was in grad school? Because Founders Brewing was right down the street. Founders, one of the biggest, quote unquote craft. Legally, they're not craft anymore, but we won't get into that. But huge brewery, and one of the really kind of popular breweries that really reinvigorated the craft beer scene in the 2000s. They were founded, I guess, in 1997 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and were one of, again, the first breweries to just put out some really great stuff that was not your just typical lager, amber ale, that sort of thing. They were really invested in making some badass beers. And so when I started drinking those beers, I was like, wow, this is what beer could taste like. Amazing. So when I was drinking all this other stuff, that was my gateway into beer and now my world famous YouTube channel. So all that to say, one of the flagship beers of Founders Brewing is their famous KBS. KBS used to stand for, or sort of stands for, Kentucky Breakfast Stout. The state of Kentucky actually ended up, I don't know if they sued or just sent, I think they sent like a cease and desist letter to Founders to say, hey, you're not allowed to put Kentucky on anything unless it is made in the state of Kentucky. So then Founders said, okay, we won't call it Kentucky Breakfast Stout anymore. We'll simply call it KBS, because at that point everybody knew already what it was. Now, standard KBS is a barrel-aged imperial kind of breakfast stout, right? It is this big imperial stout that's brewed with coffee and chocolate, and then it's aged in bourbon barrels. That's where the Kentucky part came in. And for the longest time, it was like one of the hypest beers ever. You had to wait in line for it, all that type of stuff. Now, it is a year-round shelfie. You can go into gas stations and find KBS. But each year they put out a variant of it that gets my panties a little bit in a bunch and a little bit moist. And so this is one that's a creative odd one, but I'm looking forward to it. And that's what we're trying today. So just my love of Founders. Here's the actual new beer itself, Founders KBS. And just to show you all, prove to you my love, we have a Founders bottle opener that we're going to be using to open it. And of course, we have the proper glassware of the Founders KBS glass. Okay, enough on the Founders talk, but not really. Now we're going to go into the actual beer itself. So this, again, Founders KBS is a huge imperial breakfast stout, right? Not something I'm typically drinking in July, but the variant this year for this one is actually an Imperial Golden Ale. So it's not a stout, it is an Imperial Golden Ale. But let me read this to you. An Imperial Golden Ale with coffee, cocoa nibs, milk sugar, and vanilla extract aged in bourbon barrels. This is 11% alcohol by volume, and it was bottled on May 28th, so about, just under 2 months ago. Imperial Golden Ale with all that stuff in it. Oh, I didn't even tell you the name of the beer. It's KBS Iced Latte. KBS Iced Latte. I'm excited, people. And sorry, if you're here for the records, I apologize, but this is just a good deal. All right. See what it looks like. that. All right. Well, that is a golden ale. A little bit darker than probably what you would get as like a really light golden ale. Again, this is 11%. Not a whole lot of golden ales that are 11%. It's got this beautiful gold, dark gold flavor to it. Almost dark flavor to it. Almost leaning towards a little bit more bronze, but certainly dark gold. Not a ton of head. Now, what you'll find, this is nerdy beer talk, is beers that have a ton of extracts in them, those additives, all that type of stuff. It adds oil, and the more oil you have, it's going to cut that head down. So there's a reason there's not a lot of head there, because it has all the chocolate and all that type of shit in there. Let's get a nose on it. Man, you know, that smells like KBS. Like, it is just a huge punch of coffee, vanilla, big time. It smells like a fucking latte. It smells sweet. It doesn't smell like a beer at all. That's insane. Let's just get into it, man. We're 6.5 minutes in. Cheers, everybody. That is fucking delicious. I mean, it's all there. The coffee is there, but in the latte way, it's not a bitter coffee. The chocolate is there. It's sweet, but it finishes dry. That's what the bourbon does, right? When you age something in bourbon barrels, it collects the tannins from the barrel, so it finishes dry, so it's not cloyingly sweet. Good little dry bitterness on the back end. You know, for a beer that a lot of people are probably going to look at as a little bit gimmicky, I think it's outstanding. I think it knocks it out of the park. That's a great beer. And 11% too. No burn. Maybe a little bit of warmth, but not much. I mean, I've had beers that were 7-8% that create a lot more warmth. Don't get that here. That's amazing. People, should be on your shelves everywhere. Go try this out, man. It's a little bit crazy. It is expensive. A 4-pack's like $26, but if you buy records, you know that nothing in this world is cheap. Okay. 8 minutes of beer talk. Whoa, okay. Let's get into some records. Again, FOMO, Friendship, and Founders. We got the Founders out the way. Check. Let's talk a little bit about some FOMO and Friendship. So, as I'm recording this, there is currently the big vinyl community bash happening at MGK Boston / Buffalo's Place up in Buffalo, New York. A lot of great people there. Wish I could be there. Do have something else going on, supporting somebody else in the vinyl community, so I am blessed, as the children say, to have some of these social outlets and people I've met via YouTube that I have those options. And so it looks like you all are having an absolute blast out there in Buffalo, and I just love to see it. Now, one of the people I was really looking forward to meeting up there was Greg at 3 Dimensions of Music. I don't know if he ended up making it out there, but I was really looking forward to meeting him. Have never met him before, and he just is like the nicest, sweetest, like most laid-back guy. And he sent me some VCLT a couple of weeks ago that I could not be more grateful for. So Greg, thanks a lot, man. I've been spinning this thing, and I freaking love it. In fact, I remember streaming this years ago when it came out, well before I was into records. But Greg had sent me an email, and he's like, hey, do you like Joe Bonamassa? And I was like, oh, I do. I don't own anything of his, though, for no reason other than I just didn't own anything. But I said, but he's one of those artists where if I was going to buy something, I want a live record, right? Like, there are certain those artists that you're like, just give me the live stuff. And he said, well, I bought one of his live records at a flea market for super cheap, and then realized I already had a copy. Do you want this one? I'll send it to you. And I'm like, Greg, my heart, my liver, my kidney, my lung. Please do. And he sent me that. And that is Joe Bonamassa live from New York, the Beacon Theater. This came out 2016. This came out, so almost 10 years ago. Triple LP. Man, if you don't know Joe Bonamassa, Incredible virtuoso guitarist, but in the blues world. He, to me, is the perfect marriage of just some of that great throwback blues playing, but mixing in this virtuoso, this technicality, one of the quickest hands out there. Just his technique and everything about him just blows my mind. And this is such a good live record, featuring a lot of special guests. You got Beth Hart, John Hyatt, Paul Rogers. What an absolute banging live record this is. So, Greg, I'm sorry I wasn't able to meet you, man, but I know you're just in the state over, so maybe we'll be able to meet here sometime soon, but I cannot thank you enough for sending this my way. This is an incredible record. Joe Bonamassa, Joe Bonamassa absolutely rips on here, and a hell of a record. So thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. Along with friendship, the other week I went to a show with my good buddy Gary at Physical Format Rock and Roll, who's actually up in Buffalo right now hanging out with everybody. Gary and I went to go see the Psychedelic Furs with opening act, the Chameleons. So I had heard about, obviously I knew about the Psychedelic Furs for a long time, knew a couple of their songs. I don't own anything by them. But then the Chameleons were the opening band, and I know that my buddy, MGK Boston, loves the Chameleons. And so I was really excited to see them. And I'll be honest with you, they kind of blew me away. I absolutely loved them. They had the sound about them. I mean, very post-punk, very kind of dark and dense, a little bit more noisy, a little bit more atmospheric, guitar-driven. But I absolutely loved them. And so I went to their merch table and picked up an EP that they released last year, Tomorrow, Remember Yesterday, from the Chameleons. And who's hanging out at the merch table but the leader of the Chameleons since day one, Mark Burgess. Nicest guy I've ever met. He obviously signed this for me, which was amazing. And they actually have a record coming out in September that I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, love the Chameleons. Psychedelic Furs were amazing. If I remember, I'll throw in a clip here of the show. And hanging out with Gary is always a blast because the man loves beer, the man loves pizza, and the man loves bad jokes. What more could you want? That's my holy trinity. So, yeah, Chameleons absolutely smacked my ass, and meeting Mark Burgess at the merch table and having him sign this was super cool. So, yeah, that was awesome stuff. A few days ago, I went to a show here in Columbus as well for the band Magic Potion. Magic Potion is a band on Ride and Easy Records out of California. Magic Potion themselves as a band, I believe, are out of Baltimore. But this was the record they put out last year, just their self-titled Magic Potion. And you can kind of tell what they're leaning into with this album cover. Great psychedelic, hard rock, a little bit doomy, stoner trio that really pays ode to like 1969 to 1972. I mean, absolute ripping, slightly doomy, but really psychedelic. Great guitar music. If you're a fan of Blue Cheer, a little bit of Sabbath in there, all that kind of stuff, check out Magic Potion. They are certainly one of these new bands that are doing work of old. And obviously it was cool seeing them. Really small club. They're actually the opening band for a band out of Cincinnati called Electric Citizen. Electric Citizen used to be on Ride and Easy Records. Now they're on Heavy Psych Sounds, I think. But I was really there for Magic Potion. I mean, these guys are fucking cool as hell. And again, just their outfits, their vibe, everything about them, I just absolutely love. So yeah, some really cool stuff, and got to meet up with a friend doing that too. So yeah, I mean, that's the friendship stuff, right? Let's see, what else do we have here? So let's jump into this. So this is a record that came out about a week ago or so, and I had really been looking forward to it, and it's off the Coal Mine label, so you know where we're going here. But it is the debut LP from Leroy Conroy, which is sort of the moniker, pen name, stage name, performer name of Terry Cole, who's the founder and owner of Coal Mine Records. And this is his debut LP, A Tiger's Tale. What an amazing record this is. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on here because I want to do my own kind of individual analysis, if you will, on this record. But this record is amazing. Instrumental, very soundtracky, kind of spacey, jazzy in parts. It's got that coal mine sound with that sort of classic R&B feel. Instrumental, amazing. This was really cool, and I was really looking forward to it too, because again, I mean, Terry Cole has produced a lot of records. He's been involved in a lot of the music. He's played on a lot of stuff. He's in the bands, all that kind of stuff. But this is like this debut that he's been working on for like 8 years or something, and this is an out there, awesome freaking record. So if you don't have this, look this up. A Tiger's Tail from Leroy Conroy, and the great hype sticker says, "What if Shere Khan was the good guy?" It kind of gives that vibe to it. So amazing stuff for sure. The rest are just maybe some recent spins or things that got some comments about that have been on the turntable recently. This is a new-ish record. Maybe it's come out over the last couple of months. Of a live record of a band that I saw on this tour and saw it was really cool, and that is Mayhem and Revelry live from Dirty Honey. Dirty Honey, LA band, really one of those contemporary throwback bands, right? I mean, they are a sleazy LA Sunset Strip, meat and potatoes, bluesy hard rock band, right? Think early Aerosmith, think Guns N' Roses, think a little bit of maybe some Black Crowes thrown in there. Just awesome stuff. And I got to see them back in, I guess that would have been 2023 maybe. A little while ago, but it was on this tour. I saw them here in Columbus, and they put on a great show. They're coming back actually to Columbus here in the next several months, opening for the Struts, I think, and I might end up going to that show. But very cool live record. I'm glad they released a live record after their first 2 records. Really cool. But yeah, if you're just into that good throwback sleazy LA hard rock, check out Dirty Honey. They're absolutely incredible. I forget where I was when I decided, I got to spin that record. I might have been on a live stream with Chris, the Vinyl Man, maybe Rob over at Northern Revolutions, and I forget the topic. You know what? I think it was sort of celebrating, Chris was sitting at 666 subs, and so the topic of his stream was like, devil and hellfire and all that type of shit, right? And so I pulled this record to show because of a track on there, and I was like, you know what? You need to listen to that record. But it's the second record from amazing progressive rock supergroup Transatlantic, Bridge Across Forever. Transatlantic, amazing supergroup, Prague, founded in the late 90s by Mike Portnoy, Neil Morse, Royna Stolt, and Pete Trewavas. Pete from Marillion, Royna from the Flower Kings, Neil Morse at the time from Spock's Beard, and of course Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater. This is an amazing, amazing record. I know a lot of people lean towards the first. I love the first record, and I love this maybe more. I don't know. They're both amazing. But the record, or the song I was talking about, was what kicks it off, Duel with the Devil. These are long tracks. I mean, this is 4 sides. It's 4 songs, including side 1, side 2 are all just one big suite, and then side 4 is a huge suite as well. So, if you're into amazing, melodic, great progressive rock and you don't know Transatlantic, of course, if you're into Prague, you probably know Transatlantic, but amazing. I was happy to do it. No, it was just a great record. I'm glad I spun that. So, speaking of Prague, I wrote this record off for a long time. I didn't really know if I cared for it all that much. And then I spun it and I said, you know what? That's a great fucking record. 90125 from Yes. So I keep on kind of fiddling with this idea, and I'm going to say it and y'all might steal it. I don't know. This idea of like these sort of commercially perfect records that still even like the original fans love, if that makes sense. A lot of times it is like a progressive rock band, right? Because they're not supposed to be commercial, blah, blah, blah. But this is one of those, right? I mean, obviously this sold mega whatever millions because of Owner of a Lonely Heart. I'd never need to really hear that song again. Maybe that's why I didn't really care for it as much, and that's what's kind of kicks it off. But man, Changes, incredible. That's an amazing Yes song. It could happen to you. It could happen to me. Another banger. Cinema's great. Hearts closes out. I mean, this is just a great progressive art rock pop album, man. I mean, again, I kind of wrote it off for a while because it was too 80s or whatever. You know, one of those one of a kind kind of lineups, right? We got no Tales from the Crypt is on this record, but you do have Trevor Raven, you do have Tony K on here, right? It's just, again, one of that kind of lineups. And man, 90125, again, one of those records I just didn't really give as much clout to as I probably should have, because I listened to it and I'm like, you know what, that's a near perfect fucking record. Here's a band, an act that I never talk about. In fact, I kind of forgot I had some of their records. Tangerine Dream, Phaedra. This is a type of music that I think I am more open to now than ever before. This sort of, you know, spacey, ambient, soundtrack-driven, psyche, whatever you want to call it, that I never really got. And I don't know if it's my age, I don't know if it's what I've been exposed to, but this is the type of stuff now that I find myself kind of really digging. I have a handful of Tangerine Dream records, but this is the one that I pulled, and God, I love this. I loved this, right? Kind of a cool gatefold. Sometime in the 70s, 74 maybe this came out. Right in that kind of sweet spot. And yeah, I mean, German kind of proto-electronica, whatever, you know, people want to call Tangerine Dream. What I do want to get into, though, is like early Tangerine Dream, when they were like kind of more krautrocky, like an actual like rock band. That's some cool stuff. We'll stick in Europe, but we'll go to UK, and with some Canterbury rock. Glenn Kellaway, if you're watching, I know you love this record, but it's In the Land of Grey and Pink from Caravan. You know, this is a record that probably just perfectly exemplifies that whole Canterbury scene, right? 1971, the third record from Caravan, and yeah, you know, the whole Canterbury scene just has a completely different vibe about it, right? More influenced by some of that British jazz stuff that was going on. It's a little bit more quirky than especially the stuff that was coming out of London and other parts of the UK. Very Tolkien-inspired album cover, but a beautiful one. And yeah, I mean, a great record all around, and certainly, again, a staple in the genre. But to me, the highlight on here, 9 Feet Underground, man. 22 minutes and 40 seconds of just prog epicness. A great record all around. And yeah, I do love this cover still a lot. Great stuff. And I guess last, you know, just on the whole, the spin cycle, if you will, of just stuff that we've been playing, is we'll go to 73 for Houses of the Holy from, of course, Led Zeppelin. You know, for a long time, I don't know how long I want to hold up there. You know, YouTube gets weird with censoring and all that kind of stuff. But for a long time, I thought this was one of my favorite Zeppelin albums. Now, Zeppelin's interesting, right? Because, you know, is there bad Zeppelin? No. But you got to pick something when you're doing a ranking, right? And so I feel like people obviously will talk about In Through the Outdoor, maybe Presence, and then maybe this one are the ones that come up, depending on how you feel about Zeppelin 3 with all the folky stuff. But, yeah, you know, there are some high marks on here that are some of the highest marks in Zeppelin history. And then there's some other parts that are like, what the heck? Now, is it what the hell because you just don't like it? I mean, you have to respect it, right? Like, you have to kind of respect the, you know, the Jamaica sort of vibe, right? You got to respect especially the drumming of the crunge, that type of stuff, even if it's not, you know, Stairway to or whatever. But, man, I mean, you look at this record, Over the Hills and Far Away was always sort of a classic. No Quarter. I mean, that is top tier Zeppelin for me. Dancing Days, that was a radio thing that I never really got too much. The Ocean was always sort of a smoker, obviously, in all the ways. Song Remains the Same, of course. The Rain song's great. But yeah, so it's kind of that combination of some super high Zeppelin marks and then a couple of just interesting things that, you know, in one sense, we praise Zeppelin because they were doing all of these things, and they could do all of these things, but at the same time, then we give them shit when they do those things, right? Like, we don't want to hear reggae, and then you're like, yeah, but we talk about how good Zeppelin is because they do everything. Anyway, there it is. I'm done blabbing. Under 25 minutes. Spin records, drink beer, all that good stuff. Again, shout out to everybody up there in Buffalo. for the time they're having. Shout out to Greg at 3 Dimensions of Music. What an amazing guy. Thanks for sending this my way. And shout out to all of you for just being good people, I guess. I'm assuming. I hope. Anyway, cheers, everybody. Take care. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.